On my mind, though, Malcolm X would have said education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And when we think of that, I'm reflecting on an image, not a viral video, not a flashy campaign, but a photo of the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Library. Faded paint, bars on the windows, a bold defiant sign reminding us it still exists. But beneath that sign lies a symbol of quiet neglect, a public library system that is fighting to modernize in the midst of infrastructural decay, financial starvation, and chronic understaffing. Let me be clear, Tana. Our libraries are not just buildings filled with books. They're pillars of access, equity, and enlightenment. They are among the last remaining public spaces in Jamaica where anyone, regardless of income, background, or circumstance, can walk in and expand their world, expand their mind. And another quote would have said that knowledge is liberating, right? So in Jamaica, when you look at it, for some students, the library is their only access to Wi-Fi still. For some job seekers, it's their only printer. For many, it's their only hope. Yet, despite this critical role, our public library system seems to be struggling, not because the world has outgrown it per se, but because our policies and our budgets have overlooked it. Now, some might be wondering, what am I talking about? Well, if you are an ardent user of the library, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about how some libraries are. I was speaking with a friend recently about the library in his own parish saying it needs air conditioning, Tana, air conditioning. And that hasn't been provided for quite some time. So while we look at it, our public library system is struggling. Not because, again, the world has outgrown it, but we need to look back at where we are. So we live in a country that celebrates education, but recently we had an issue, Tana, which is why I have to bring this up now, with reading and putting it back on the curriculum. Many years ago, I entered the reading competition, I think twice. The first time I wasn't as successful. The second time I would have come second in my age group. And I remember that because at that point, that is where I went for my information. I would go to the library consistently. If I wanted to read, if I wanted to borrow a book, I would go up to my parish library, I'd get my book, go and read it, and then return it. So it still has its space. Now, we live in a country that celebrates education as the ladder out of poverty. You all can say that. But sometimes we look at that ladder and we allow some issues to be, some spokes in the wheel. We allow those spokes to be damaged, like our libraries. We don't want that to happen because we're championing digital transformation. And when we look at that, our libraries are also trying, Tana, to transform. So while we talk about Vision 2030, while we talk about innovation, we need to look at a humble institution like the library. And this isn't just about books, it's about access. This is about inclusion, it's about development, and it's the kind of country we want to become. So what do we do in 2025 when we see a story plastered on the front page of one of our preeminent newspapers? Firstly, we need to look at it from a policy perspective and revisit the investment in public libraries, not just a relic of the past, but as foundational tools for nation building. Maybe that is where we need to integrate some of the reading ideas that we need for those children that we have had concerns with. That means increased capital funding, some very important strategic upgrades. So as I said, I have a friend that had a AC issue in his own library, and integrated digital learning centers. And this can happen, Ton. I've gone to different countries. I've seen it where libraries are still thriving through just this integration of digital learning, the technology, having it there. And I see children, adults alike being a part of it. Secondly, partnerships must be encouraged with the companies that are in telecom, tech firms, universities, civil society, to help libraries serve the community as technology hubs. I know that some libraries already have it, but free Wi-Fi, digital literacy classes, coding workshops even, and career guidance should be something that we can also, offer alongside what's on the shelves, because we're now transforming, we're changing, we're becoming different. So that would be something that could even help to push our libraries to a different paradigm, a new day. Finally, we need to build a culture of civic engagement that includes volunteering, supporting our local libraries, adopt a library initiatives, school library partnerships, and alumni-funded projects that can make a difference while government reforms are also put in place. So we need to shift the narrative, because the libraries, they aren't dead, they're not redundant, they're not for the poor, they are for the future. They're for all of us, because I would have used it, Tana. I'm sure you would have used your library too. Mm-hmm. And that says that they do have an impact. And I know students who still go to the library, so they do have an impact. So if we can fund all these other things, and now we're talking about reading, we're talking about getting students up to that literacy level. Let's look now at how we can get the libraries involved. Let's look at how we can ensure that while we look at reading from a educational curriculum point of view, we look at it from that other point of view as well, where we integrate our libraries and we have students, children, even adults again, being so incensed by the idea of reading, going to your library, borrowing a book. And that way we can look at the overall improvement of our library system concurrently with our education system. And that's what's on my mind.
What would you say to this criticism, which is now populating the YouTube chat? Persons are asking, well, who is using a library in 2025 when a lot of people have their libraries at their fingertips?
Well, there are some things, Tana, that you don't get at your fingertips when you look at libraries. For one, when I went to the UK about 2 years ago, there are some documents and some books that you really couldn't get except going to the library. And there are some things that are archived as well that you won't just easily go and find online to either purchase or to either pull up. And that's the purpose of the library. You're asking who uses the library. Some of our YouTubers may not know those CSEC students, that is where they go to engage. Some of our or YouTubers may not know about our reading competition. That's a yearly competition that engages readers and persons who utilize the library. So yes, maybe you're so privileged to have your library at home. Maybe you are so privileged to go on your whatever website it is, whether it's Z Library or whatever else it is, and you can look at it and get all you want, Tana. You can go on your iPad and your tablet and get it. But some people don't have that privilege, and that is the purpose of the library. So if you are thinking about it from your point of view, it may be privileged, but there are other persons who that is where they use. I don't know if you've ever driven on Tom Redcombe Road and seen the students going over to the library. So that is why we have to look at it and look at what that partnership can look like to ensure that our libraries don't end up on the front page of any newspaper or any other news outlet saying that they are underserved or they're struggling to be maintained. Because it can be done. There are other states that have done it, because it is a part of our own innovation. It's a part of our own archives. And, what is a country without its public libraries?